Hey everybody, Brennan from Wexler's Prime here to talk about the eighth and final track, Fossil Constellation, which bears the same name as the album, which is out on May 29th on Dystonic Music. Musically, this is definitely influenced by Dream Theater. You know, you can hear a lot of The Great Debate. That was a big influence on me. As well as their other kind of longer tracks, you know, around the 6 Degrees kind of era. But also an interesting influence was Audrey was a big influence on this. You know, the first riff on, you know, bass and guitar, I had written that back in 2010, 2011 when I was in Montreal living with Matthew Marcotte from Audrey. And, you know, just hearing him riff and, you know, loving Audrey as a band, this riff kind of came out as an influence of, you know, what I felt something that, like, you know, maybe Forrest would write, or a riff Matt would write for Audrey. You know, it has like strange chords, it has tapping and sliding and, you know, all that stuff. And this song kind of was built upon that riff. So it's somewhere kind of Audrey, Dream Theater influence, you know, musically. But there's definitely also a little bit of Pain of Salvation influence in there too. You know, the part after all the guitar solos and the unison and all that, there's this part that kind of has the instrumentation playing the same kind of riff over and over while the vocals, you know, build and kind of do a round with each other, and they get more lush and they build up, which is very much, you know, a Pain of Salvation kind of influence for me. And that part, you know, kind of when I was doing the vocals, just kind of came out of nowhere. And I think it's my favorite thing that I've written. It's really neat. I don't know, and I really hope everyone enjoys it and appreciates it. So I think it's a cool kind of culminating point of the song that leads it back into the riffs that had come before. I don't know. It's fun. It's a neat one. Lyrically, you know, there's a bit of a Cormac McCarthy, Blood Meridian influence in there. You know, I guess you could say it's kind of a discussion of a tension in humans with regard to, you know, we're violent creatures inherently. You know, I think that's kind of in our DNA, it's in our systems, but we can decide not to be. You know, there's no fate, there's no predeterminedness of us. However, we still have this within us that's inherent, and we have to fight against it. And so, you know, kind of where Fossil Constellation came from, you know, the fossil, that's part of our history, that's part of who we are. But constellation, you know, we can look to the stars and there are no constellations, but we can determine them as is. We can say, oh, that's, you know, Orion the hunter, which is kind of on the cover art. You can kind of see that constellation in there again, kind of going back to our violent origins. So it's just talking about that tension. You know, we have the ability to choose our lives and create things and give meaning to things in a meaningless world, but we inherently are driven by our history as violent creatures, you know. And this doesn't have to be just like violence of, you know, physical violence, but it's just violence in everything. In, you know, the act of creation is violent. You know, making this bass guitar, there was a tree once, or numerous trees that are no more, and they had to be cut down and built into this thing. You know, making this album was itself a violence. It was, you know, it took a lot of cutting and thinking about it, and, you know, sacrificing things to put into it. There's an inherent violence in some form, just kind of, I think, in humanity. But although we're drawn by that and driven by it through our history, we can push against it. And so this song is kind of like just a discussion of that. You know, hopefully that makes sense and didn't come off as, you know, too highfalutin or philosophical. You know, when I wrote these lyrics, it was definitely, you know, I was in school, you know, for philosophy, and it was a big influence on me. Same with the lyrics for In Dust and Dreams. So hopefully it's palatable and not too, I don't know. Hopefully it's okay. But in any sense, that is the final track for Fossil Constellation. Instrument-wise, use this 4-string, use the 6-string guitar, both in D standard, drop C. Nothing too unique or exciting about that. The standard kind of Wexler kind of combination. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a neat one. I think it's a cool album closer. It's another long one. Not quite as long as Cedars, but still the second longest on the album. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully you guys all enjoy the album when it comes out. And I'm really excited for you to hear it. It's been a long time coming. All right. Stay safe and take care.